Alrighty, what up there, fifth period? For those of you who missed yesterday, we went over the opening paragraph in your DBQ. We went over how to write a context statement, and went over how to write your thesis statement. For those of you who were not in class and just watched the video, some of the things that we had mentioned in class but not in the video were that you could write this essay multiple ways. You could do it. You could base the body paragraphs off the multiple impacts. You could base the body paragraphs off continuity and change, and you can base the body paragraphs off maybe the positive impacts and the negative impacts from the diffusion of Islam in the sub-Saharan region. Now, let's go through that really briefly again. We went through our first 15 minutes of prep. We didn't look at this slideshow when we did that. We actually were looking at this slideshow here when we're going through our AP test DBQ steps. These are the ones you want to follow when writing it. And we got through 1 through 4. So when kids come to class today, we're going to review our test. We're going to review their context and thesis statements. And we are going to then start our body paragraphs. If we don't finish, we're going to do it tomorrow. If you weren't here and you haven't taken the Unit 1 test, it is open. Go and take it, please. Okay, so let's go over context and thesis just really quick because we're going to read each other's in class. But if you're not here, you're probably going to want a quick review. So remember, the first thing we do when we get a prompt is we identify the skill, the content, and the time period. We want to identify those things in order to write the context. Now, in the prompt that you guys are looking at, it says evaluate the extent to which the Mongols impacted Afro-Eurasian societies during 1200 to 1450 CE time period. Now, the skill is impacted, so there's multiple skills that can be used for impacted. We said causation, cause and effect, right? Causation means cause and effect. So you could talk about in each of your body paragraphs the different impacts, the different effects that are there. You could break up the body paragraphs to where one body paragraph you give the positive effects and the next you give the negative effects. And then you could talk about impacts by the continuities and changes. Some things they did impact, some things they didn't impact. You write 2 body paragraphs based on that. It's up to you. But that is the reason we identify the skill. And if we're ever confused on how to set up those bodies, again, we go to this handout right here from yesterday's video. These graphs all show you the different frames and ways to set up your body paragraphs depending on the skill you decide. So that's after that. After that, we go ahead and analyze our documents. We group them between both of our arguments. We write our thesis. We write our context statement. But again, follow the steps here, and if you follow these, you'll be good. Let's go back here. Okay, that was an example that we went over in class and in yesterday's video. And now today, we are going to be moving on to the body paragraphs. Like we mentioned before, the body paragraphs are dictated off of your thesis, okay? If you give 3 lines of reasoning, 3 reasons to support your claim within your thesis, you're going to need to write 3 body paragraphs. If you give 2 pieces of reasons as to why it supports your claim, you're going to write 2 body paragraphs. For each line of reasoning you give in your claim, you are going to write a body paragraph. Now, within your body paragraphs, you could earn up to 4 points, okay? 4 points. You get 2 points for your evidence and explanation section, and I'm going to go over where these things are in a moment. But basically, guys, you're going to need to use 6 documents in your body paragraphs. Within those body paragraphs, you're going to have to use evidence from the document. Now, you get 1 point for just using 3 documents and giving a piece of evidence for it. You get 2 points for using 6 documents, giving evidence to support your claim, and explaining how it supports your claim. That should be very, very familiar to you guys. It's basically an ACE response for each of the documents. It's an ACE setup for each of them, and I'm going to show you that in a second. The second point you get is or the third point, really, the second section down here, is your outside evidence point. You must stick 1 piece of outside evidence in each of your body paragraphs. And with that evidence, you need to explain also how that outside evidence ties back to the claim you're making within that body paragraph. Now, the information you use for your outside evidence cannot come from the documents, or they're not considered outside evidence. And not only are you giving the evidence, but again, you're explaining how that evidence ties back to your claim in that paragraph. Now, it must be in the same time period. It cannot be information in the docs. Remember, stay close to the middle of the bullseye when you're writing that. And then the last point you're going to get is for your sourcing statements. You earn 1 point for sourcing 3 different documents throughout your body paragraphs. I tell you to do 4. I grade 4 when I have you guys write the DBQs because usually a reader will miss one that you do. And if they miss one and you only do 3, that means you only did 2 really, and you don't get that point. So we always source at least 4 of the 6 documents that we use, or at least attempt to source 4 of them. Don't worry about this information here. This is all old stuff. I'm teaching it different now. So here is a setup of your body paragraphs. Now, at the start of each body paragraph, we're going to have a topic sentence. That topic sentence is going to tell the reader which line of reasoning this body paragraph is on. So you're literally going to restate your thesis with only one of the lines of reasoning rather than 2 or 3. So you're telling the reader. So, for example, if someone said one impact on the diffusion of Islam in the sub-Saharan region was the exchange of goods, that's the only one they're focusing in that paragraph. But in their thesis, they could have said exchange of goods. They could have said decentralized powers. They could have said a number of different reasonings. But again, the body paragraph is only focusing on one of those. So restate your thesis with just that one line of reasoning in your topic sentence for your body paragraph. Right, that is considered your answer. That's going to be your answer, your A part of your ACE for that whole body paragraph. Then we're going to get into our cite and explanations. We are going to cite supporting evidence from one of the documents we analyzed that support the claim we just gave for that paragraph. After we cite it, we're going to then explain how that evidence ties back to that paragraph. Now, if we are doing a sourcing statement for one of those documents, because you all should have analyzed the documents, and as you analyze them, you should have wrote the easiest way to source it. So, for example, if this person had not been to Africa and they were writing about Africa, that's something very easily to write a sourcing statement on, checking the reliability of that source. So you would plug in your sourcing statement for the 4 easiest documents. Your next, after you do that, after you give your evidence for that document, your explanation for that document, and that sourcing HAP statement, if you're using it for that document, you're going to go directly into the next document. You're going to cite supporting information from that document that ties back to the first sentence, the claim in that body paragraph. Then you're going to explain it. Maybe the second doc you don't want to use a HAP sourcing statement for because it's too hard. So you don't use that. You just go directly into the next doc. And you're going to do that basically for 3 documents. Right here, I only have 2, but you're going to do that for 3 on your essay. So be aware of that. Now, at the end of your body paragraph, you are going to tie in your analysis from your outside evidence. That is now you're going to do the same thing that you did in your with your documents, but instead of citing a document, you're just going to cite information that shows your mastery of the content, right? And then you're going to do the same thing like you did for the documents. You're going to explain how that new information that you brought in from your head supports the claim. And then your closing sentence, again, is just going to rephrase your claim sentence or your opening sentence within that body paragraph. Now, let me show you an example. Okay. This is from the example I showed you guys yesterday. Yesterday's example had an opening paragraph on the same prompt. And the prompt was, again, evaluate the extent to which the Mongols impacted Afro-Eurasian societies during the 1200 to 1450 time period. So that is our prompt. Okay, and we went over this opening paragraph, this context and thesis section yesterday. Go back to that if you forget. But pretty much just as an example of the next paragraph. This would be their first body paragraph. Now, in her thesis, Bren said that the Mongols significantly impact Afro-Eurasian societies positively by diffusing different cultures and increasing the exchange of goods, and negatively through violence and conquest. So she's setting up her body paragraphs to give the positive impacts and the negative impacts. So the first body paragraph we're going to look at are her positive impacts. How do I know that? Well, she restates her thesis with that line of reasoning in her opening sentence. She says the Mongols affected Afro-Eurasia in many positive ways. There she goes. Now she has to bring in her first document. Not only does she bring in the document, but she says which document she uses, and she puts it in parentheses at the end. Why does she do that? Well, she does that so she makes sure that the reader does not miss the point of her using the document. So she says, according to document 2, the Mongols weren't honest, respectful, and chaste people. That's evidence, right? That's what it says. She paraphrased what she read in the document. Now she's going to explain how that's a positive thing for the diffusion of the Mongols' impact, right? This conveys a virtuous and positive relationship between the Mongols and other Afro-Asian societies because they work together to conquer other lands. Without the cooperation within the tribe, it would have been more difficult to conquer the amount of land They did. So that's a positive impact from that. Okay. She HAP statement this, and then she just plugs in her sourcing statement on basically evaluating the reliability, credibility, accuracy of that source. And she says, due to the fact that the author of document 2 was a foreigner who only observed and did not practice being part of the Khan's court, one can assume he does not have a complete understanding of the function of politics in the Mongolian era. It's a great HAP statement. I know you guys don't have the documents to the DBQ I'm giving an example of, but really you don't need them because she's telling us everything. She's doing exactly what a DBQ is, arguing an idea and a claim based on real historical evidence or primary sources. Let's go into her next one. Okay, this is her second piece of evidence. Document 7 depicts Kublai Khan in a council with his courtiers and scribes working together. That is what document 7 shows. Well, how does this impact Afro-Eurasian? How does it show that? Well, this shows a positive effect because the Mongols' government was made up of the most intelligent and capable leaders of the people they conquered. This led to the Mongols being able to legitimize their rule through native representatives and use their knowledge to maintain a stable society. Dang, she brought it home with that. It's a great example. It looks like she did back-to-back HAP statements. So she said, because the image in document 7 was painted in India when India had defeated the Mongol invasion, it is likely the positive implications in the painting are reliable because they are still giving the Mongols credit for their governing, even though they are enemies. Again, she evaluates the reliability using a HAP aspect. Great HAP statement. Let's get into her third piece of evidence. She says document 3 explains the Mongols were a very charitable and peace-loving people when they established rule over regions. Mongolian leaders tried to eradicate injustices and hostility, especially on trade routes, in order to create an affluent society, which had not been done before Mongolian rule. Again, that ties back to her claim that it had positively affected Afro-Eurasia. Now, this is her piece of outside evidence that we're going to read here at the bottom. This information is not in the documents. Okay, and she cites it, and then she explains again why it supports her opening statement. She says in Mongolia and Afro-Eurasia, different cultures had risen up in abundance after the Mongols took over. The Mongols ignited the expansion of innovation because they diffused the discoveries they made. This shows a positive effect because the expansion of trade leads to the spread of knowledge and increase in commercial innovation. It's a great body paragraph. Now, I'm not going to show you her second one because we don't got time and class is about to get out and I'm about to actually teach. But I hope this helped you guys understand how to write a body paragraph if you are in here today. I hope you feel better if you're not here because of that. Her second body paragraph would be the same exact thing, but it would show the negative impacts because, again, that's what her thesis was on. Positive impacts and negative impacts. You guys either did continuity and change or you paraphrased a type of impact and then paraphrased another type of impact within your thesis, and you're expanding upon that within your DBQ. And closing paragraph, we'll go over that tomorrow. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Homework tonight, finish the body paragraphs. Take it easy.